Imagine a time when the very fabric of a nation was being torn apart by hatred and division. In the midst of this turmoil, a single voice emerged, echoing with unwavering conviction and profound compassion. This voice belonged to Dr. Martin Luther King, Jr., a man whose life and work would forever alter the course of history. Born into a world rife with racial injustice, King did not simply accept the status quo. Instead, he dared to dream of a better future, a future where the color of one's skin would not dictate one's worth or opportunities. Through his extraordinary journey, King became a beacon of hope, illuminating the path to equality and justice with his powerful words and peaceful actions. King's story is not just about his achievements and milestones. It is a testament to the power of courage and love in the face of adversity. His relentless pursuit of civil rights, driven by an unshakable belief in the inherent dignity of every individual, inspires us to reflect on our own values and the impact we can have on the world. As we delve into the life of Dr. Martin Luther King, Jr., let us remember that his legacy is not confined to the past. It lives on in our daily lives and in the ongoing struggle for justice and equality. His message of nonviolence and his vision of a beloved community challenge us to continue his work and strive for a world where everyone is truly free and equal. Early life. Dr. Martin Luther King, Jr. was born on January 15, 1929, in Atlanta, Georgia, USA. His birth name was Michael King, Jr. His father, Michael King, Sr., was a pastor. Martin had an older sister named Christine and a younger brother named Alfred. Martin's family lived in a house in Atlanta, and they were part of a community that faced many problems because of racism and segregation. Martin went to school in Atlanta. He was a good student and loved reading books. He was very smart and did well in his studies. Martin also went to church with his family every Sunday. His father was a preacher, so Martin learned a lot about faith and religion from him. Education. Martin went to Morehouse College in Atlanta when he was 15 years old. He studied hard and earned his degree in sociology. After that, he went to Crozer Theological Seminary in Pennsylvania. He wanted to become a pastor like his father. At Crozer, Martin learned about different religions and important leaders who fought for justice. Martin then went to Boston University for his doctorate. He studied theology, which is the study of religion. Martin wrote his thesis on the idea of love and nonviolence. He believed that love was very important for changing the world. Becoming a leader. In 1955, Martin became famous for his work in the civil rights movement. He led a big event called the Montgomery bus boycott. This was a protest against the unfair laws that made black people sit at the back of the bus and give up their seats to white people. Martin and many others said this was wrong. They walked or found other ways to travel instead of taking the bus. After a year of protest, the law was changed, and black people could sit anywhere on the bus. Martin's success in Montgomery made him a well-known leader. He traveled around the country to speak about civil rights and justice. He talked about the need for equality and freedom for everyone, no matter their skin color. Nonviolent protest. One of Martin's most famous ideas was nonviolence. He believed that fighting with violence was wrong. Instead, he thought people should use peaceful methods to make changes. Martin was inspired by Mahatma Gandhi, a leader from India who also used nonviolence to fight for independence. Martin's nonviolent approach was very important in the civil rights movement. He encouraged people to protest peacefully, to sit down and talk about their problems, and to show love and respect to everyone. Important speeches. Martin gave many important speeches during his life. One of his most famous speeches is called "I Have a Dream." He gave this speech on August 28, 1963, during the March on Washington for Jobs and Freedom. In this speech, Martin talked about his dream of a world where everyone would be treated equally and with respect. In his speech, Martin said he wanted his children to be judged by their character, not their skin color. He dreamed of a future where people of all races could live together in harmony. His speech was very moving and inspired many people to join the fight for civil rights. Awards and recognition. Martin's work was recognized by many people and organizations. In 1964, he won the Nobel Peace Prize. This prize is given to people who work for peace and fight against violence. Martin was the youngest person to receive this prize at that time. Winning the Nobel Peace Prize was a big honor for Martin, but he continued to work hard for civil rights. He traveled to many cities and met with leaders to discuss ways to make the world a better place. Challenges and struggles. Martin faced many challenges during his life. Not everyone agreed with his ideas. Some people did not like his efforts to change the laws and fight for equality. Martin and his family received many threats and were in danger because of his work. Despite these dangers, Martin did not give up. He continued to speak out and fight for what he believed was right. He inspired many people to join the civil rights movement and work for justice. Final years and legacy. Martin Luther King Jr. was a strong and dedicated leader. Unfortunately, his life was cut short. On April 4, 1968, Martin was assassinated in Memphis, Tennessee. He was in Memphis to support a strike by sanitation workers who wanted better working conditions and fair pay. Martin's death was a great loss for the world, but his legacy lives on. His work for civil rights and justice has inspired many people. Martin's speeches, ideas, and actions continue to encourage others to work for equality and peace. Today, Martin Luther King Jr. is remembered as a hero who changed the world. Every year, on January 15th, people celebrate Martin Luther King Jr. Day to honor his life and work. Schools, communities, and organizations remember his contributions and continue to promote his message of love and nonviolence. Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. was a remarkable leader who dedicated his life to fighting for civil rights and equality. His belief in nonviolence and his powerful speeches inspired many people to join the movement for justice. Although his life was tragically cut short, his impact on the world remains profound. Martin's legacy teaches us the importance of love, courage, and perseverance in the fight for a better and fairer world. By learning about Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., we can understand the power of standing up for what is right and working together to create a world where everyone is treated with respect and dignity. Chapter 1. Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Courageous, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Defied courage in the face of adversity. Despite facing violence and threats, he remained steadfast in his commitment to the fight for civil rights. Charismatic, Dr. King possessed a magnetic presence and an unparalleled ability to inspire and mobilize people through his eloquent and powerful speeches. Compassionate. Known for his deep compassion and commitment to nonviolence, Dr. King believed in the power of love and peaceful resistance as tools for social change. Intelligent, Dr. King's intellect and education, including earning a PhD in systematic theology, equipped him to effectively articulate his arguments for equality and justice. Determined, throughout his life, Dr. King demonstrated unwavering determination in pursuing his mission of achieving civil rights for all Americans. Mission. Dr. King's mission was clear: to dismantle racial segregation and discrimination through nonviolent means, advocating for legislation that would ensure equal rights and opportunities for all individuals, regardless of race. Purpose. Dr. King's ultimate purpose was to create a society where individuals would be judged based on their character rather than the color of their skin. He envisioned a world where love and justice would prevail, creating a beloved community where all people could coexist in harmony.
Time period: the mid-20th century, focusing on the 1950s and 1960s during the height of the civil rights movement. Atlanta, Georgia. Born in Atlanta, Georgia, Dr. King's childhood experiences with racism and segregation deeply influenced his perspective on social justice and equality. Montgomery, Alabama. It was in Montgomery, Alabama, where Dr. King led the famed Montgomery bus boycott, igniting a wave of civil rights activism in the South. Birmingham, Alabama. Dr. King's arrest in Birmingham, Alabama, led to his powerful Letter from Birmingham Jail, a landmark document in the fight against racial injustice. Washington, D.C. In 1963, Dr. King delivered his iconic "I Have a Dream" speech during the March on Washington, a pivotal moment in the civil rights movement. Memphis, Tennessee. Tragically, Dr. King's life was cut short in Memphis, Tennessee, where he was assassinated in 1968 while supporting striking sanitation workers, leaving behind a powerful legacy that continues to inspire generations. Chapter 2. Early life and education. From his formative years in Atlanta, Georgia, Martin Luther King Jr. deeply influenced by the segregation and discrimination he witnessed in the South. Born on January 15, 1929, Martin Luther King Sr. and Williams King, young Martin grew up in a loving, nurturing household that instilled in him the values of compassion, empathy, and service too. As a young man, King excelled academically, graduating from Booker T. Washington High School at the age of 15. He went to attend Morehouse College, where his father and grandfather had also graduated. It was at Morehouse that King experienced a transformation, deepening his understanding of social justice and racial equality, and solidifying his commitment to the cause. After graduating from Morehouse with a degree in sociology, King continued his studies at Crozza Theological Seminary in Pennsylvania, where he earned a Bachelor of Divinity degree. His time at Crozza exposed him to diverse theological perspectives and philosophies, shaping his belief in the power of love, nonviolence, and justice. Dr. King furthered his education by pursuing a PhD in systematic theology at Boston University, delving into complex theological concepts and ethical principles that would inform his activism and leadership in the years to come. It was during his time in Boston that King met Coretta Scott, a gifted singer and aspiring musician, whom he would later marry and with whom he would raise 4 children. As Dr. King's academic journey continued, he found himself drawn to the teachings of Mahatma Gandhi and the concept of nonviolent resistance as a powerful tool for social change. This philosophy would become a cornerstone of King's leadership in the civil rights movement, guiding his actions and shaping his legacy as a transformative figure in American history. Chapter 3. Rise as a preacher and civil activist. After completing his studies, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. returned to the South, settling in Montgomery, Alabama, with his family. It was in Montgomery that Dr. King's leadership in the civil rights movement began to take shape. In 1955, King found himself at the forefront of the Montgomery bus boycott after the arrest of Rosa Parks, a brave American woman who refused to give up her seat on bus to a white. The success of the Montgomery bus boycott catapulted Dr. King into the national spotlight, establishing him as a prominent voice for civil rights in America. His impassioned speeches, including the famous "I Have a Dream" speech, resonated with people across the country, inspiring them to join the fight against racial segregation and inequality. Despite facing fierce opposition and violent threats, Dr. King remained committed to his philosophy of nonviolence, leading peaceful protests, marches, and sit-ins to challenge discriminatory laws and practices. His unwavering dedication to justice and equality earned him both admiration and criticism, but he never wavered in his belief that love and nonviolence were the most potent weapons in the struggle for civil rights. Throughout the late 1950s and early 1960s, Dr. King's influence continued to grow as he worked tirelessly to dismantle segregation and advocate for voting rights for African Americans. His role in organizing the 1963 March on Washington for Jobs and Freedom, where he delivered his iconic speech, solidified his position as a leader of the civil rights movement and a symbol of hope for millions of Americans. Dr. King's commitment to the principles of equality, justice, and nonviolence inspired a generation of activists and changed the course of American history. His legacy as a preacher, civil rights leader, and champion of social justice continues to resonate today, reminding us of the power of compassion, courage, and conviction in the face of adversity. Chapter 4: The Birmingham Campaign and Letter from Birmingham. One of the significant milestones in Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. activism was his involvement in the Birmingham Campaign of 1963. Birmingham, Alabama, was a city deeply entrenched in racial segregation and discrimination, earning it the reputation as one of the most segregated cities in the South. Dr. King, along with other civil rights leaders, organized nonviolent protests and demonstrations to challenge the unjust laws and practices of the city. Despite facing violent opposition and brutal repression from law enforcement, Dr. King and the demonstrators maintained their commitment to nonviolence, to retaliate against the injustices inflicted upon them. The images of peaceful protesters being met with police brutality and attack dogs shocked the nation and brought international attention to the plight of African Americans in the segregated South. During his time in Birmingham, Dr. King penned his famous Letter from Birmingham Jail, a powerful and eloquent defense of nonviolent resistance and civil disobedience. In the letter, addressed to fellow clergymen who had criticized his methods, Dr. King articulated the moral imperative of fighting for justice and equality, even in the face of adversity. The Letter from Birmingham Jail became a seminal document in the civil rights movement, capturing the essence of Dr. King's philosophy of nonviolence and his unwavering commitment to the cause of civil rights. Its impact resonated far beyond the confines of the jail cell, inspiring others to join the fight for social justice and equality. Dr. King's leadership in the Birmingham campaign and the writing of the Letter from Birmingham Jail solidified his position as a moral compass and visionary leader in the struggle for civil rights. His ability to turn adversity into opportunity, challenge injustice with courage and conviction, and inspire others to join him in the fight for equality remains a testament to his enduring legacy as one of the greatest leaders in American history. Chapter 5: The Voting Rights Act and Influence on American Society. Following the success of the Birmingham campaign and the passage of the Civil Rights Act of 1964, Dr. Martin Luther King turned his attention to the issue of voting for African Americans. The Voting Rights Act of 1965 was a monumental of legislation that aimed to eliminate barriers to voting, such as literacy tests and poll taxes, that disenfranch minority voters. Dr. King played a crucial role in advocating for the Voting Act, organizing voting rights marches and demonstrations in Selma, Alabama, to draw attention to the need for federal intervention to protect the voting rights of African Americans. The brutal violence of Bloody Sunday, where peaceful marchers were violently attacked by state troopers on the Edmund Pettus Bridge, galvanized public opinion and led to the eventual passage of the Voting Rights Act. The Voting Rights Act of 1965 was a significant victory for the civil rights movement, as it dismantled many of the legal barriers that had prevented African Americans from exercising their right to vote. Dr. King's tireless efforts to secure voting rights for all Americans, regardless of race, marked a turning point in the fight for equality and justice in the United States. Dr. King's influence on American society and culture was profound, as he challenged the nation to live up to its founding principles of freedom and equality for all. Through his speeches, marches, and acts of civil disobedience, Dr. King inspired a generation to stand up against injustice and work towards a more inclusive and equitable society. The legacy of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. continues to resonate today, reminding us of the power of nonviolence, love, and compassion in the face of oppression and adversity. His work laid the foundation for future generations of activists and leaders to carry on the fight for civil rights and social justice, ensuring that his dream of a truly equal society lives on. Chapter 6: Assassination and Legacy. Tragically, on April 4, 1968, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. assassinated in Memphis, Tennessee, while in to support the striking sanitation workers. The news of his death sent shockwaves the nation and the world as people mourned the loss of a beloved leader who had dedicated his life to fighting for justice and equality. Dr. King's assassination, a dark moment in American history, underscoring the deep-seated racism and violence that continued to plague society. His death sparked outrage and grief, but also as a catalyst for continued activism and resistance in the face of hatred and injustice. In the wake of Dr. King's assassination, cities erupted in protests and riots, as people grappled with the loss of a visionary leader who had inspired hope and unity. The tragedy of his death served as a stark reminder of the dangers and risks faced by those who dared to challenge the status quo and fight for social change. Despite his untimely death, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.'s legacy endures as a beacon of hope and inspiration for generations to come. His nonviolent philosophy, commitment to justice, and unwavering dedication to equality continue to resonate in the hearts and minds of people around the world. Dr. King's dream of a society where all individuals are treated with dignity and respect, regardless of race or background, remains a powerful vision that continues to shape social movements and advocacy efforts today. His words, his actions, and his legacy serve as a reminder of the ongoing struggle for justice and equality, inspiring future generations to carry on the fight for a more just and compassionate world. As we reflect on the life and legacy of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., we are reminded of the power of one individual to spark change, challenge the status quo, and inspire others to join in the pursuit of a more just and equitable society. His enduring impact serves as a testament to the enduring power of hope, love, and justice in the face of adversity. Chapter 7: Impact on American Society and Global Influence. Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.'s on American society and his global influence cannot be overstated. His leadership in the civil rights movement transformed the landscape of American culture and politics, paving the way for significant legislative changes that advanced the cause of civil rights and equality. One of Dr. King's most enduring legacies is his ability to bring people together across racial, ethnic, and socioeconomic lines by emphasizing the principles of love, nonviolence, and justice. He inspired a sense of unity and common purpose among diverse groups of people who joined forces to challenge the injustices of segregation and discrimination. Dr. King's influence extended far beyond the borders of the United States, as his advocacy for human rights resonated with people around the world. His philosophy of nonviolent resistance inspired movements for social change in other countries, including South Africa, India, and beyond, where activists sought to emulate his methods in their own struggles against oppression. The impact of Dr. King's work can still be felt today in the ongoing fight for racial and social justice. His legacy continues to inspire individuals and communities to work towards a more inclusive and equitable society, where all people are treated with dignity and respect. Through his words, actions, and unwavering commitment to justice, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. left an indelible mark on the fabric of American society and the global community. His vision of a world where love and understanding triumph over hate and intolerance serves as a guiding light for those who continue to strive for a better, more just world for all. Chapter 8: Remembering Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. As we reflect on the life and legacy of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., it is essential to not only his accomplishments as a leader and activist but also his humanity, compassion, and unwavering commitment to the principles of love and nonviolence. Dr. King's message of hope, equality, and justice continues to resonate with people of all ages and backgrounds, inspiring them to stand up for what is right and just in the of adversity. Dr. King's words and speeches, including his iconic "I Have a Dream" speech, continue to be celebrated, studied, serving as a source of inspiration and guidance for those who seek to create positive change in their communities and the world at large. His belief in the inherent worth and dignity of all individuals, regardless of race or background, remains a powerful moral imperative that challenges us to strive for a more inclusive and equitable society. In the years since his passing, Dr. King's legacy has been honored in a myriad of ways, from the establishment of Martin Luther King Jr. Day as a federal holiday to the creation of monuments, memorials, and educational programs in his name. These commemorations serve as a reminder of the enduring impact of his work and the continuing relevance of his message in the ongoing struggle for civil rights and social justice. As we look to the future, it is imperative that we carry on Dr. King's legacy by working towards a world where equality, justice, and peace prevail. By following in his footsteps and embodying his values of love, nonviolence, and empathy, we can honor his memory and continue the fight for a more just and equitable society for all. Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.'s life and legacy will forever be a beacon of hope and inspiration for generations to come, reminding us of the power of one individual to make a profound and lasting impact on the world. May we never forget his enduring message of love, courage, and unity as we strive to create a better future for all. Chapter 9. Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Enduring Legacy. Martin Luther King Jr. has left an indelible mark on American society and the world at large. His tireless advocacy for civil rights, his commitment to nonviolent resistance, and his unwavering belief in the power of love and justice have inspired countless individuals and movements to strive for a more just and equitable future. One of the most powerful aspects of Dr. King's legacy is his ability to bring people together, transcend differences and unifying individuals in the pursuit of a common goal. His message of unity and solidarity continues to resonate today, reminding us of the importance of standing up against injustice and working towards a society where all individuals are treated with dignity and respect. Dr. King's influence extends far beyond the civil rights movement of the 1960s. His teachings on nonviolence, equality, and justice have been embraced by subsequent generations of activists, leaders, and ordinary citizens who continue to fight for social change and challenge systems of oppression and inequality. The impact of Dr. King's work can be seen in the passage of landmark legislation, such as the Civil Rights Act of 1964 and the Voting Rights Act of 1965, which sought to dismantle institutional racism and protect the rights of marginalized communities. His vision of a beloved community, where love and justice prevail, continues to serve as a guiding light for those who seek to build a more inclusive and compassionate society. As we reflect on Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.'s enduring legacy, we are reminded of the power of courage, conviction, and compassion in the face of adversity. His life and work continue to inspire us to strive for a more just and equitable world, where all individuals are valued, respected, and given the opportunity to thrive. Dr. King's dream of a society free from discrimination and inequality lives on in the hearts and minds of all who believe in the possibility of a better future for generations to come. Chapter 10. Reflections on Dr. King's impact today. As we consider the relevance of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.'s in today's society, it becomes clear that his teachings and beliefs are as pertinent now as they were during the civil rights movement of the 1960s. The issues of racial injustice, systemic inequality, and social division that Dr. King fought against continue to in various forms today, underscoring the ongoing urgency of his message. In a world marked by growing disparities and polarization, Dr. King's call for unity, understanding, and nonviolent resistance serves as a guiding principle for those who seek to address the root causes of injustice and discrimination. His emphasis on the inherent worth and dignity of every individual challenges us to confront biases, prejudices, and structural barriers that perpetuate inequality and division. Dr. King's commitment to social justice and his unwavering dedication to the principles of love and nonviolence offer a powerful blueprint for contemporary movements that strive to address pressing issues such as racial discrimination, police brutality, economic inequity, and systemic racism. He reminds us that the fight for justice requires courage, perseverance, and a deep-rooted belief in the possibility of change. As we navigate the challenges of the present day, Dr. King's legacy provides a source of inspiration and encouragement for those who seek to create a more just and inclusive society. His example of moral leadership, ethical integrity, and compassionate activism continues to inspire individuals, organizations, and communities to work towards a world where all people are treated with dignity, respect, and fairness. Dr. King's life and work stand as a testament to the power of one individual to make a difference, to spark change, and to inspire others to join in the pursuit of a more equitable and harmonious world. His enduring impact transcends time and space, reminding us that the struggle for justice and equality is a collective endeavor that requires the commitment and solidarity of all who believe in the possibility of a better future for all humankind. Chapter 11. Commemorating Dr. King's Legacy. The legacy of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. is cited in various ways across the United States and around the From monuments and memorials to educational programs and community events, Dr. King's life and work are honored in a variety of meaningful and impactful ways that serve to keep his memory alive and his message. One of the most significant tributes to Dr. King is the annual observance of Martin Luther King Jr. Day, a federal holiday that his birthday and celebrates his contributions to civil rights and social justice. This day serves as an opportunity for individuals and communities to reflect on Dr. King's teachings, engage in acts of service and charity, and participate in events that promote equality and unity. Monuments and memorials dedicated to Dr. King, such as the Martin Luther King Jr. Memorial in Washington, D.C., and the Dexter Parsonage Museum in Montgomery, Alabama, serve as physical reminders of his impact and legacy. These sites attract visitors from around the world who come to pay their respects and learn more about Dr. King's life and work. Educational programs and initiatives focused on Dr. King's teachings and the history of the civil rights movement play a crucial role in keeping his legacy alive for future generations. Schools, universities, museums, and community organizations offer a range of educational resources, workshops, and activities that help to educate people about Dr. King's contributions and the ongoing relevance of his message. Community events, marches, and rallies organized in honor of Dr. King bring together individuals from diverse backgrounds to celebrate his vision of a more just and equitable society. These gatherings provide opportunities for dialogue, reflection, and action, inspiring participants to carry on Dr. King's legacy by working towards positive social change in their own communities. As we commemorate Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.'s legacy, we are reminded of the enduring impact of his work and the continuing relevance of his message in today's world. By honoring his memory through acts of service, education, and advocacy, we can keep his dream alive and continue to strive for a world where justice, equality, and peace prevail. Chapter 12. Inspiring Future Generations. Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.'s enduring legacy beyond the commemorations and tributes in his honor. His life and work continue to inspire future generations to stand up for justice, equality, and human rights in the face of adversity. By studying his teachings, reflecting on his actions, and embracing his vision, young people around the world can learn valuable lessons and gain inspiration to create positive change in their communities. Educational institutions play a vital role in ensuring that Dr. King's legacy is passed down to future generations. Schools, colleges, and universities incorporate his speeches, writings, and philosophy into their curricula, exposing students to the principles of nonviolence, social justice, and civil rights activism. Through education, young people can gain a deeper understanding of the historical context of Dr. King's work and the enduring significance of his message. Youth organizations and community groups also provide a platform for young individuals to engage with Dr. King's legacy and participate in activities that promote social justice and equality. By organizing marches, service projects, and advocacy campaigns, young people can follow in Dr. King's footsteps and contribute to the ongoing fight for a more just and equitable society. Dr. King's message of love, compassion, and empathy resonates with young people who are passionate about making a difference in the world. By harnessing the power of activism, advocacy, and solidarity, the youth of today can carry forward Dr. King's dream of a world free from discrimination, hate, and injustice. Through their actions and their voices, young leaders can advance the causes that Dr. King fought for and help to build a brighter future for all. As we look to the future, it is essential to empower and support the next generation of changemakers, activists, and leaders who will carry on Dr. King's legacy. By instilling in young people the values of courage, integrity, and compassion, we can ensure that Dr. King's dream of a beloved community where all individuals are treated with dignity and respect lives on in the hearts and minds of those who will shape the world of tomorrow. Chapter 13: Dr. King's Global Impact. While Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.'s legacy is firmly rooted in the American civil rights movement, his influence has reverberated across the globe, inspiring movements for social change, equality, and justice in various countries. Dr. King's message of violence, love, and unity transcends borders and has resonated with people from diverse cultural backgrounds who seek to challenge oppression and discrimination. In countries such as South Africa, India, and Ireland, Dr. King's teachings on nonviolent resistance have served as a source of inspiration for those fighting against colonialism, apartheid, and sectarian violence. Leaders such as Nelson Mandela, Mahatma Gandhi, and John Hume have cited Dr. King as a guiding light in their struggles for freedom and equality. Dr. King's advocacy for human rights and his emphasis on the power of peaceful protest have influenced activists and movements around the world, who have adopted his methods and strategies in their campaigns for social justice. From the streets of Tahrir Square in Egypt to the squares of Hong Kong, the principles of nonviolence and civil disobedience championed by Dr. King continue to shape modern-day movements for democracy and freedom. The global impact of Dr. King's message is evident in the widespread recognition and celebration of his legacy. International organizations, governments, and institutions have honored Dr. King with awards, prizes, and commemorations that highlight his contributions to the advancement of human rights and the promotion of equality. Dr. King's teachings on love, justice, and equality serve as a beacon of hope and inspiration for people around the world who seek to build a more inclusive, peaceful, and humane society. His vision of a world united in compassion and understanding continues to inspire individuals and communities to work towards a more just and equitable world where all people are treated with dignity, respect, and fairness. Chapter 14: Dr. King's Enduring Influence. As Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.'s impact continues to resonate around the world, his teachings and legacy have undergone a renewal in recent years. In an era marked by social and political upheaval, movements for racial justice, equality, and human rights have turned to Dr. King's principles of nonviolence, love and solidarity as guiding principles for their advocacy and activism. The Black Lives Matter movement, in particular, has drawn from Dr. King's nonviolent resistance and his commitment to challenging systemic racism and police brutality. Invoking Dr. King's legacy, and advocates have sought to reignite a sense of urgency and moral clarity in the fight against racial injustice and inequality. Dr. King's message of love and unity has also found resonance in efforts to bridge divides and heal wounds in divided societies. His belief in the power of empathy and understanding to bring people together has inspired reconciliation and peace-building initiatives in conflict-affected regions around the world. The enduring influence of Dr. King's legacy can be seen in the myriad voices and movements that continue to carry forward his work. From grassroots organizers to global leaders, individuals and communities are drawing on Dr. King's teachings to shape a better future based on compassion, justice, and equality. As we look to the future, it is essential to uphold and honor Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.'s legacy by embracing his vision of a world united in love, justice, and solidarity. By following in his footsteps and embodying his values, we can work towards creating a more just, equitable, and compassionate society for all. Dr. King's enduring influence serves as a reminder of the transformative power of moral leadership, activism, and the unwavering belief in the possibility of change. Chapter 15. Lessons from Dr. King's Legacy. Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.'s legacy: valuable lessons for individuals and societies seeking to create positive social change and build a more just and equitable world. His life, teachings, and actions provide a roadmap for addressing systemic injustice, promoting empathy and understanding, and fostering unity in the face of division and hatred. One of the key lessons from Dr. King's legacy is the power of nonviolent resistance as a means of challenging oppression and injustice. By advocating for peaceful protest and civil disobedience, Dr. King demonstrated that change can be achieved through moral courage, disciplined action, and a steadfast commitment to justice. Another important lesson from Dr. King's legacy is the importance of intersectional activism that recognizes and addresses the interconnected nature of social issues, such as racism, poverty, and militarism. Dr. King understood that these systems of oppression are deeply intertwined and that true progress requires a comprehensive approach that tackles root causes and fosters inclusive solutions. Dr. King's emphasis on empathy, compassion, and love as tools for social change serves as a powerful reminder of the inherent humanity and dignity of all individuals. By promoting a vision of a beloved community where mutual respect and understanding prevail, Dr. King challenges us to bridge divides, heal wounds, and build connections based on shared values and principles. Furthermore, Dr. King's legacy underscores the importance of moral leadership and ethical integrity in the pursuit of justice and equality. His unwavering commitment to his principles, despite facing immense challenges and adversity, serves as a model for individuals in positions of influence to use their power for the greater good and advocate for those who are marginalized or oppressed. As we reflect on Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.'s legacy, we are reminded of the transformative impact that one individual can have on the world and the enduring power of love, justice, and unity in the face of injustice. His lessons continue to inspire us to strive for a world where all individuals are treated with dignity, respect, and compassion, and where the values of justice and equality guide our actions and shape our future. Chapter 16. Applying Dr. King's Principles Today. In today's society, the principles and teachings of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. are as relevant and important as ever. His messages of nonviolence, love, equality, and justice offer us a roadmap for addressing the myriad social challenges we face in the world today. By applying Dr. King's principles to our actions and decisions, we can work towards creating a more inclusive, compassionate, and equitable society. One way to apply Dr. King's principles is through advocacy and activism for social justice causes. By standing up against injustice, inequality, and discrimination, we can echo Dr. King's call to confront systemic issues and work towards creating a fairer and more just world for all. Through nonviolent protest, civil disobedience, and community organizing, we can raise awareness, mobilize communities, and advocate for positive change. Dr. King's emphasis on empathy and understanding can also guide us in fostering dialogue, reconciliation, and mutual respect in our interactions with others. By embracing the values of compassion and unity, we can bridge divides, build connections, and foster a culture of inclusivity and belonging where all individuals feel valued and heard. Furthermore, Dr. King's commitment to addressing interconnected social issues serves as a reminder of the importance of taking a holistic approach to advocacy and activism. By recognizing the intersections of racism, poverty, environmental degradation, and other forms of oppression, we can work towards comprehensive solutions that address root causes and promote sustainable social change. As we navigate the complexities of our world today, we can draw inspiration from Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.'s legacy of courage, compassion, and conviction. By embodying his teachings and principles in our daily lives, we can contribute to creating a more just, peaceful, and equitable society that honors the dignity and rights of all individuals. Dr. King's enduring legacy challenges us to be agents of positive change, to stand up against injustice and inequality, and to work towards a world where his dream of equality and justice for all is realized. May we continue to learn from his example, draw strength from his words, and embody his vision of a world united in love and compassion. Chapter 17. Honoring Dr. King's Memory. In honoring the memory of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., it is essential to honor his impact, his legacy, and his enduring influence on our world. By commemorating life, teachings, and contributions, we pay tribute to a visionary leader who dedicated his life to the pursuit of justice, equality, and for all. One to honor Dr. King's memory is through education and awareness of his teachings and principles. By studying his speeches, writings, and philosophy, we can gain insight into the strategies and values that guided his activism and advocacy for civil rights. Through educational programs, workshops, and discussions, we can engage with Dr. King's ideas and apply them to contemporary issues and challenges. Another way to honor Dr. King's memory is through acts of service and community engagement. Dr. King believed in the power of service to others and often spoke about the importance of giving back to the community. By volunteering, participating in community projects, and supporting organizations that promote social justice, we can honor Dr. King's commitment to making a positive difference in the lives of others. Additionally, honoring Dr. King's memory involves confronting injustice and inequality in our society and actively working towards meaningful change. By advocating for policies and practices that promote equality, diversity, and inclusivity, we can uphold Dr. King's vision of a society where all individuals are treated with dignity, respect, and fairness. Through our actions and advocacy, we can carry forward Dr. King's legacy and continue the fight for social justice and human rights. By celebrating Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.'s life and work, we reaffirm our commitment to the values of peace, equality, and justice that he championed. His legacy serves as a beacon of hope and inspiration for individuals and communities around the world, reminding us of the transformative power of love, compassion, and unity in the face of adversity. May we all strive to honor Dr. King's memory by embodying his teachings and working towards a more just and equitable world for future generations. Chapter 18. Sustaining Dr. King's Dream. As we honor Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.'s memory and legacy, it is crucial to focus on sustaining his dream of a more just, equitable, and peaceful world. The work of realizing Dr. King's vision goes beyond commemoration and calls for ongoing dedication, action, and advocacy for social change. One way to sustain Dr. King's dream is by amplifying voices, advocating for those who are oppressed, and speaking against injustices in our communities. By actively promoting equality, inclusion, and diversity, we can work towards creating a society where all individuals have a voice and are treated with dignity and respect. Another crucial aspect of sustaining Dr. King's dream is by promoting education and fostering understanding. By engaging in conversations about race, privilege, and systemic inequalities, we can challenge biases, broaden perspectives, and promote empathy and solidarity. Education plays a critical role in dismantling discriminatory beliefs and fostering a culture of respect and understanding. Furthermore, sustaining Dr. King's dream involves actively working towards systemic change and advocating for policies that advance social justice, human rights, and equality. By supporting initiatives that address disparities in healthcare, education, housing, and criminal justice, we can contribute to creating a more equitable society where all individuals have access to opportunities and resources. By committing ourselves to the principles of nonviolence, love, and justice, we can sustain Dr. King's dream and continue his legacy of advocating for a world free from discrimination, oppression, and hate. Through our collective efforts and unwavering commitment to social justice, we can create a world that aligns with Dr. King's vision of a beloved community where all individuals are valued, respected, and embraced. As we move forward, let us draw inspiration from Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.'s enduring legacy and strive to be agents of positive change, advocates for equality, and champions of justice. By embodying his teachings and principles in our daily lives, we can contribute to realizing his dream of a world where love, compassion, and unity prevail. Chapter 19: The Enduring Legacy. Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.'s enduring legacy transcends time and borders, continuing to inspire individuals across generations and around the world. His teachings on nonviolence, justice, equality, and love serve as a beacon of hope in times of darkness, guiding us towards a brighter future built on compassion, understanding, and unity. The impact of Dr. King's work can be seen in the progress made towards racial equality and civil rights in the United States, as well as in movements for social justice and human rights globally. His legacy lives on in the voices of activists, the hearts of those fighting for justice, and the minds of individuals striving to create a more inclusive and equitable society. By honoring Dr. King's memory, upholding his values, and engaging in meaningful action, we can ensure that his dream of a beloved community becomes a reality. Through education, awareness, advocacy, and service, we can carry forward Dr. King's vision of a world free from prejudice, discrimination, and hatred. As we reflect on Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.'s life and legacy, let us remember his courage, his compassion, and his unwavering commitment to justice. Let us be inspired by his example to stand up against injustice, to speak out for the oppressed, and to work towards a world where all individuals are treated with dignity, respect, and equality. Dr. King's dream of a world united in love, justice, and peace lives on in the hearts of those who believe in the power of humanity to create positive change. As we strive to build a better future for ourselves and for future generations, may we be guided by Dr. King's enduring legacy and his timeless message of hope, unity, and transformation. Through our collective efforts and our shared commitment to Dr. King's dream, we can create a more just, equitable, and compassionate world for all.
Martin Luther King's story continues to be reflected in our modern society through ongoing struggles for racial equality, social justice, and civil rights. Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. remains an enduring symbol of the struggle for civil rights and social justice. His story, rooted in a time of deep racial segregation and inequality in the United States, resonates strongly in today's world, where issues of race, justice, and equality are still pressing concerns. This analysis delves into how Martin Luther King Jr.'s activism, principles, and vision continue to resonate in contemporary society. It examines the enduring impact of his work, draws parallels between the struggles of his time and those of today, and demonstrates how his dream of equality and justice serves as a guiding force for ongoing efforts towards social change. The legacy of nonviolence and civil disobedience embodies the enduring impact of peaceful resistance in driving social and political change. From Mahatma Gandhi's Satyagraha in India to Martin Luther King Jr.'s leadership in the American Civil Rights Movement, this legacy highlights the power of nonviolent activism in challenging injustice and advocating for equality. Martin Luther King Jr.'s unwavering commitment to nonviolence and civil disobedience as tools for social change was a significant aspect of his legacy. Inspired by Mahatma Gandhi, King believed that love and peaceful resistance were powerful weapons against oppression. In modern society, the principles of nonviolence and civil disobedience are evident in many social justice movements. For example, the Black Lives Matter (BLM) movement, which gained prominence following the killing of Trayvon Martin in 2012 and later the death of George Floyd in 2020, often draws on King's philosophy. While the BLM movement has faced criticism for some incidents of unrest, its core message emphasizes peaceful protest and the use of civil disobedience to confront systemic racism and police brutality. The parallels between the civil rights movement of the 1960s and today's movements are striking. Like the protests led by King, BLM marches and demonstrations are often met with heavy police presence, and activists face significant risks. Yet, the commitment to peaceful protest, even in the face of violence and oppression, continues to reflect King's influence. The persistence of these movements shows that, while progress has been made, the struggle for justice and equality is far from over. The dream of equality embodies the vision of a society where every individual is valued and treated with respect regardless of their race, gender, or background. It is a call for justice and fairness in all aspects of life, striving to create a world free from discrimination and prejudice. King's famous "I Have a Dream" speech, delivered during the March on Washington in 1963, envisioned a future where people would be judged by the content of their character, not the color of their skin. In contemporary times, significant strides have been made towards achieving racial equality, yet the dream remains unfulfilled. The concept of colorblindness in modern society clashes with the reality of racial biases and inequalities that still exist, despite the idea that race is not a factor in decision-making. Current social justice movements are working towards achieving Dr. King's dream by advocating for criminal justice reform, affirmative action, and fighting against voter suppression. These efforts recognize the need to address both visible and invisible barriers to equality for marginalized communities. The fight for voting rights has been a long and arduous struggle for equality and democracy. From suffragettes advocating for women's right to vote to civil rights activists battling against voter suppression, the fight for voting rights has been a cornerstone of social and political progress. Voting rights were a central focus of King's activism, particularly in the South, where discriminatory practices like literacy tests and poll taxes were used to disenfranchise African Americans. The Selma to Montgomery marches, led by King and other civil rights leaders, played a pivotal role in the passage of the Voting Rights Act of 1965, which sought to eliminate these barriers and ensure that all citizens could exercise their right to vote. In the 21st century, the fight for voting rights continues as efforts to restrict access to the ballot box have resurged, reminiscent of disenfranchisement strategies of the past such as voter ID laws, gerrymandering, and voter roll purging. The Supreme Court's 2013 decision in Shelby County v. Holder, which struck down key provisions of the Voting Rights Act, has led to increased voter suppression efforts, particularly in minority communities. This has sparked a new wave of activism, with organizations like the NAACP Legal Defense Fund and movements like Fair Fight, founded by Stacey Abrams, working tirelessly to protect and expand voting rights. King's legacy continues to manifest in the ongoing battles for voting rights, echoing the work he and his contemporaries initiated. Modern activists are dedicated to combating voter suppression and promoting fair elections, underscoring the enduring significance of the fight for voting rights in today's society. Economic justice is the fair and equitable distribution of resources, opportunities, and wealth within a society, ensuring that all individuals have equal access to basic necessities and economic security. The Poor People's Campaign is a grassroots movement that advocates for economic and social justice, aiming to address issues of poverty, racism, and inequality through nonviolent civil disobedience and community organizing. As King neared the end of his life, he increasingly focused on economic justice, understanding that racial equality and economic opportunity were interconnected. Economic inequality is a pressing concern in the U.S. and globally, with widening gaps between the rich and the poor. The revival of the Poor People's Campaign in 2018, led by Reverend William Barber II and Reverend Liz Theo Harris, is a testament to King's enduring influence. This modern campaign builds on King's vision, addressing systemic racism, poverty, ecological devastation, and the war economy. It calls for a moral revival and a movement that brings together people of all races and backgrounds to fight for economic justice and the rights of the poor. The fact that the issues King identified in the 1960s remain pressing concerns today is a sobering reminder of the work that still needs to be done. The challenges in modern society are diverse and complex, ranging from economic inequality and poverty to environmental degradation and technological disruption. These challenges present significant obstacles to achieving a more equitable and sustainable future for all. As societies grapple with issues such as access to healthcare, education, and employment, as well as societal polarization and political instability, finding solutions that address the root causes of these challenges is crucial for progress. Dr. King's legacy continues to inspire people and movements, but modern society faces complex challenges, including polarization and divisiveness in political and social discourse. Issues of race, justice, and equality are frequently sources of division. The rise of social media has amplified these divisions, with misinformation and extremist views often spreading rapidly. This environment can make it difficult to have constructive conversations about race and inequality, and it sometimes feels as though the dream of a united and just society is further away than ever. However, there are also many examples of individuals and communities coming together to continue King's work. Grassroots movements, community organizations, and everyday citizens are finding new ways to promote equality, justice, and understanding. These efforts, often driven by young people, reflect the ongoing relevance of King's principles in modern society. Education plays a pivotal role in shaping individuals and societies, providing knowledge, critical thinking skills, and opportunities for personal and professional growth. Education was a crucial part of King's vision for a better society. He believed that knowledge and understanding were essential for breaking down barriers and creating a more just world. Today, education continues to play a vital role in the fight for civil rights and social justice. Efforts to teach King's legacy in schools and communities are essential for ensuring that future generations understand the importance of his work. Programs that promote diversity, equity, and inclusion in education help to foster a more just and equitable society. The Black Lives Matter at School movement aims to address racial inequality in education by advocating for an end to zero-tolerance policies, the adoption of restorative justice practices, and the hiring of more Black teachers. This aligns with Martin Luther King Jr.'s vision of using education as a means for social change. Progress can only be achieved by acknowledging and learning from past mistakes and failures, and embracing a mindset of continuous improvement and innovation to pave the way for a brighter future. Despite ongoing challenges, there has been significant progress since the time of Martin Luther King Jr. The civil rights movement achieved major victories with the Civil Rights Act of 1964 and the Voting Rights Act of 1965, setting the stage for greater equality and justice in American society. However, the path forward requires continued vigilance and effort. As King himself said, "The arc of the moral universe is long, but it bends toward justice." This bending does not happen on its own. It requires the collective efforts of individuals and communities to push for change, challenge injustice, and promote equality.